Willkommen beim Broadleaf Junkie. Lehnt euch zurück, genießt eine gute Zigarre und habt Spaß. Dominikanische Zigarren sind immer mild. Das ist so ein tief verankerter Satz im gefährlichen Halbwissen, wenn es um Zigarren geht. Auch wenn zum Beispiel Flor Dominicana seit Jahrzehnten mit ihren kräftigen Blends das Gegenteil beweisen. Toni hat sich mit mir zusammen in viel zu kleine Sessel gesetzt und über die Neuinterpretation ihres allerersten Blends gesprochen.
You're here again. I think I didn't see you last year.
Oh, I was here.
You was
been here every year for like 12 years or 13 years.
All right.
Yeah. Never miss InterTabac, man.
All right, yeah. Because it's like community meeting.
Yeah, of course. It's become very important to the cigar industry, man. You know, you have to be here. You know, we have so many distributors around the world, and a lot of them you only get to see once a year. You know, so it's great to sit down, you get some FaceTime and chat, but you also make a lot of great new connections. And
so basically you're here for connecting with people you already know and not really doing new accounts and stuff, just
we make new connections. We definitely make new connections.
All right.
So yeah, this is how, you know, we've grown a lot internationally over these last 10 years or now, and this is part of it. This is a big part of it. So
yeah.
Without InterTabac, you know, that wouldn't have happened.
So you're in this business like how long for now?
We began 32 years ago, so in 1994.
But this was your father.
Yeah. So
then.
I've been in the industry since 2009, right? So like 16 years.
When it comes to your brand, what is the imagery behind it? What is the backstory you're selling with your cigars?
You know, this always started with the idea of, because you know, my father could have gone down to Dominican Republic with some cash and found a factory to make his cigars for him and all that, but from day one the idea was to make our own cigars, you know. So, you know, we own our own factory. We also have our own farm, you know.
Yeah.
70% of the tobacco that we use comes from our farm. So it was about making something real, making something great. You know, we love cigars, and so we don't want to smoke crappy cigars, right? So
of course.
We got to make good ones, you know. But the idea has always been, you know, since we didn't have a long family tradition in this or anything, this was really just a crazy idea my father had 31 years ago or whatever that really shouldn't have worked, but since we didn't have, you know, to follow, you know, my great-grandfather's way of doing things, you know, we kind of created our own path, and we've always been very creative, and you know, we've always been a little bit different about the way we make our cigars.
At which point in making a cigar would you say it starts for you creatively?
It's interesting because
I think I said it wrong. Creatively.
Yeah. It's a good question, but there's not like a single answer.
No.
There have been times where I taste a new leaf or a new type of tobacco, and I really loved it, and I wanted to create a blend that would highlight those particular flavors. You know, like Lennox, for example. You know, it was that wrapper, the Cubra from Brazil. And this really amazing dark chocolate, roasted coffee, and you know, so the flavors are so dark. Then you know, the theme of the cigar evolved from that, right? But you know, Andalusian Bowl started with the size. You know, we just had this size in mind. You know, and
all right.
Looking at the size, and it looked powerful. You know, like a bowl. That was the first thing that popped into my head, and then took it from there. It became Andalusian Bowl, and it became a tribute to Spain, like where my father's from. So inspiration comes from a lot of different directions.
But in general, you mostly have one story to your cigars. It's your brand, and then let the rest speak for itself.
That's it. You know, we're just trying to make great cigars. You know, that taste great and look cool, and I want to make things that, you know, if I were a consumer, I would look at and say, that's interesting. I want to try that. You know.
All right. So no much storytelling. Just let.
Oh, there's always storytelling. A good cigar should always have a story to tell. If it doesn't, then it shouldn't exist, I think.
All right. Yeah.
You know?
And therefore you go with names like La Nox when it's the start cigar,
Right.
but not much above that. Not
So, you know, for example, the Knox, you look at the Knox, the box is a circle, right? So
Yeah, of
that
course.
represents the full moon. And on the logo, you have the crescent moon. The font was based on Vincent van Gogh's handwriting. I've always loved the Starry Night paintings, you know? So, yeah, you know, I try to always build in little story to it, you know, something like that. And then the flavors themselves, you know, they're dark, like the night, things
so
like that.
creativity goes the whole way from the first leaf
Yeah.
until the finished
Yeah, that's the fun
product.
part.
Yeah,
That's the fun part, man.
of course.
Yeah.
And what does this industry, the people in and around it, what does it mean to you?
There's nothing quite like the cigar industry, you know. The longer you're in it, you see, it's almost like people never leave, you know. You see somebody leave the industry and then they're always back within a couple years, you know. There's something special about it. It draws you in, it keeps you in. It's the people, it's the camaraderie, it's relationships, you know, and you're doing something you love, right? We all love cigars and we share a big thing in common. So it keeps us together and it keeps us strong. It's a beautiful industry. I wouldn't be anywhere else.
What do you most like about cigars?
What I most like about cigars? It's a great question. Because, you know, it's just such a standard part of my life that, you know, you don't even think about that. But I just couldn't imagine, you know, going to work and not sitting down and having my coffee and lighting up a great cigar. It's just part of your life. It's part of all the stories in your life, you know. For me, it's what has taken me to all sorts of amazing places and helped me meet so many great people. So the cigar has a special power to it. It's more than just the sum of its parts, you know. It's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, and from the start to finish.
Yeah.
And speaking of the cigar itself and the process in doing this.
And it's a beautiful process, you know. Cigars today are made the same way they were made 200 years ago. You know, it hasn't changed. There's no technology that has really changed cigar making anyway. You know, it's like something sacred almost. You know, and
When
it's
it
a beautiful
comes
process.
down to make a cigar, it's still just hands.
It's hands, man. It's people and it's hands, and it will always be that way. There's no other way to do it. There's no other way to do it.
Right now, when you're sitting here, despite showing your face and meeting people, open new accounts, is there something new with La Flor Dominicana
Yeah.
right now, or
You can see it right back here. It's a Suave.
this one?
Yeah, you got one right there.
What's the story behind this?
It's got a long history, actually.
All right.
It's new. It's kind of new, but it's kind of not new, right? So the first cigar that we ever made back in 1994 was called the Premium line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a traditional Dominican cigar, so Connecticut wrapper, very mild. That was the Dominican cigar at the time. You know, that's changed a lot since, but that was the classic Dominican. And then over the years, as our company evolved, we actually became known for making very, very full-bodied cigars. You know, we got that reputation. You know, LFD will kick your ass type thing. And so, you know, honestly, the premium line, it kind of got forgotten about. You know, at one point we rebranded it to Suave, but the blend stayed the same and everything. But it got lost in the shuffle. You know, people just thought about LFD and they thought about strong cigars. And I always felt like that line had a lot of potential, and I felt like it needed something new. It needed a total remake, you know. So the idea was we underwent like a thought experiment, and it was basically if we could go back to 1994, right, and make this cigar, knowing everything we know now, what would it look like and what would it taste like?
Okay.
Right. So we recreated it. It's a new blend totally. It's new packaging totally. It's essentially a new cigar, but it's an evolution of that first one. It's kind of a reimagining of it. So I think it's a much better cigar now. I think it's a lot more us.
All right.
It fits our profile a lot more, but it still maintains that kind of milder to medium. It's very smooth and creamy, and it's a beautiful cigar. You know.
If you say it's more us, it's more our profile, what would you say is your signature taste?
It's a good question. and it's a little abstract. I don't know, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you, the specific, leather note or cedar note or something like that. I don't know. Like I said earlier, 70% of our tobacco comes from our farm, right?
Yeah.
So I could give my book of blends to anybody, and you will never recreate an LFD because you don't have that specific tobacco from our farm. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It'll never be exactly the same,
Yeah.
So that's our signature is that tobacco from our soils, But I think Suave just has has the new Suave at least, the flavor. There's more depth of flavor. It's more exciting and it's more unique. It's not, just the standard kind of Connecticut mild Dominican cigar. It's something I think more special.
And it's your way and process to kind of reimagine yourself and your brand now again, because everything is constantly evolving and you want to do basically the same.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something you might add?
Not much. I think, we just love to make great cigars, man. And, I think we make cigars for cigar smokers. And we make something, I think, for everybody. We make a very wide variety of different blends with different flavors and strength levels and styles. And but no, man, that's it. We just make great cigars, and we invite people to try them and see for themselves. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, well, then you'll probably never like them. Because we do have a distinct kind of je ne sais quoi, I guess, about us. But yeah.
And when it comes to cigar making and the industry, there are some obstacles to overcome. Does this bother you, or do you say, okay, they are there, they will always be there, this is just something we have to deal with as good as we can?
Listen, it's sad, man, because, a lot of governments just don't have anything better to do than just start, making up rules and regulations for things. There's too many government employees in a lot of countries, and they have to justify their jobs by making up rules. Things that don't even make any sense. And it's just really a waste of everybody's time. But it is what it is. In a lot of parts of the world, there's very little power to do anything about it. In the United States, we do have a lot more power. And, for example, the CRA, Cigar Rights of America, which my father was one of the founding members of, that's our lobbying organization for premium cigars in the U.S. I got the, let's say, the blessing, unfortunate enough that I actually got named to the board of CRA not too long ago. My father stepped down and the board agreed to bring me in, which was a huge honor, amazing. But the CRA, for example, in the US, we were able to get a judge to declare that premium cigars, what we make, hand-rolled, no additives, long filler, classic cigars are a separate category from cigarettes and all that other crap, and the FDA is not allowed to regulate us. Which was monumental, huge.
This is something we can actually do right now still around here. Go check the link.
There you go. ECMA is the organization in Europe that's trying to achieve the same things, but it's a lot more difficult here in Europe. First off, you don't have the funding like we do in the US.
Yeah.
But second off, there's countries in Europe where if you work in the tobacco industry, you're not even allowed to talk to a politician legally. So they can regulate you, but you're not allowed to fight back. You're not allowed to defend yourself, and that's horrible. I think it's not fair, it's undemocratic, and it's a terrible thing, but it's the reality, and I see very little. You just have to adapt to it and you have to move forward. People will always smoke cigars.
All we can do is adapt and, try to fight it.
You could try your best, but I feel confident that people are always going to smoke their cigars and will always find a way. They're not going to stop us, as much as they want to for whatever stupid reason.
Re-education, they say.
Yeah.
Listen,
there are studies. There are studies that go against all the shit that they say that cigars cause. There are studies that show cigar smoking does not increase your rate of mortality. There are studies that show that children do not smoke cigars or are not interested in cigars. And the facts are out there. So the problem is that we're not fighting a logical battle.
No,
it's not based on logic in any way. Or facts. No. It's just tobacco is an easy enemy, and there's very few politicians that want to stick their neck out to defend it. So it's an easy target for taxes, for, again, bureaucrats that have to justify their jobs to make up rules for. You just attack tobacco. you know?
But we will find a way. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for
Was
coming
fun.
by.
Über den unten aufgeführten Link könnt ihr noch bis Ende des laufenden Monats vor der EU kommentieren und argumentieren, warum man Zigarren und Zigarillos von der kommenden erhöhten oder drastisch erhöhten Tabaksteuer ausnehmen könnte, sollte, müsste. Was er gesagt hat. Denkt dran, sind nur noch ein paar Tage. Wenn ihr mehr von dem Shit wollt, folgt mir einfach, liked, teilt, kommentiert, wenn ihr wollt und genießt eine gute Zigarre.